today. The UFC is back in the world-famous Apex Arena, where in the main event, Starboy Manel Kape attempts to go out there and finally, somehow, if he doesn't miss weight, if he doesn't get injured, if he doesn't have trouble making the flight, finally might get a title shot in the flyweight division. But Brandon Royval, the Raw Dog, is fresh off of a Fight of the Year candidate fight against Joshua Van, the now champion of the flyweight division. Which man will excel? Which man will move forward? Which man is going to challenge for the flyweight championship of the world? And will the UFC please cut me some promo money for giving you this soundbite to hype up your fight? Do it. Plus, there's a couple other fights I'm going to talk about on here. Not really nothing too special, but still, how about that main event? Cut the check, Dana White. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy Matt, and we are here to talk about the last card of the year in the world famous, I should say, UFC Apex Arena. We're in the main event. Manel Starboy Kape steps in the octagon with Brandon Raw Dog Royval in the flyweight division. Man, this right here is probably going to be a really good fight. It's going to be fast, and it should be action-packed, because after coming off of this possible Fight of the Year winner between Brandon Royval and Joshua Van, I suspect Brandon Royval will go out here probably, more than likely, I believe he'll start the fight slow, because Manel Kape is hard to time and it's hard to catch his pace, because the homie is constantly, he's constantly feinting, he's moving from side to side, this dude, he's constantly in motion, right? Or, to throw off his opponents, he begins very stationary, because, as I've said on previous videos, Manel Kape has extremely good eyes, meaning his defense is extremely sharp, right? He parries a lot of shots, he rolls with a lot of punches, he's pretty good at checking a lot of leg kicks, at least raising his leg so you might just kick his knee if you go that high. That's definitely what this dude is about. So I suspect Brandon Royval will start this one out slow, popping the jab, kind of moving, trying to get off those devastating body kicks that he was killing Joshua Van with, but Joshua Van waged war and moved forward. I suspect Brandon Royval will start out slow. I think Manel Kape's defense will be on point. I think there'll be a few shots that'll be landed in the first round by both men. I don't think you're going to get a tremendous gauge on who's in the lead in this fight by the time the first round ends. Second round, I think it'll be a little bit more damage, a little bit more shots thrown, Maybe Manel Kape starts to open up slightly about the halfway point of the second round. Maybe starts trying to get off a little bit of offense. But usually this dude is still making reads at this time. Sometimes, unless his opponent really pushes him. And this is where I think Raw Dog Brandon Royval takes advantage. I think he takes the advantage about the halfway point of the second round. He might even start off the second round extremely quick with a lot of shots, a lot of movement, trying to draw out Manel Kape out of that defensive shell. In which Manel Kape, don't get me wrong, he'll stick you with some shots, but his eyes are really good and he's still making a lot of defensive reads. From there, bro, by the time we get into the third round, The third round, I believe, is when Brandon Royval and Manel Kape will open up. You'll probably see a lot of back and forth, a lot of tit for tat. Brandon Royval really getting off on that, sticking him with that 1-2, following it with that body kick whenever he can get that in there. A lot of good leg kicks by both men. Manel Kape will start playing, kind of start making fun of him, doing like little weird, almost like Anderson Silva kind of movements to kind of draw out Brandon Royval, kind of challenge him, which might get Royval to really start firing off shots. But if at the end of the third, if Manel Kape hasn't caught Brandon Royval with something devastating, dropped him, something along those lines, I don't know if either man is really going to explore, really trying to take it to the ground. Usually Manel Kape tie in a takedown here and there, you know what I'm saying, just to kind of throw his opponent off. He's not really looking to finish or anything like that, but he will throw in some takedowns. Well time, I will add. But if it gets to the third round, this is where it gets tricky, because I think this is when Brandon Royval really turns it up. Manel Kape generally is notorious for having really bad weight cuts. I'm not saying this is going to be a bad weight cut, but if it is a bad weight cut, you start to see Manel Kape slow down a little bit, and now he's really starting to strike with you for real about that fourth round, you know, or at least what we've seen in a lot of his other 5-round fights. When he begins right here, this is what I think makes the fight. Because if he's able to really get something off on Royval, drop him a few more times in the fourth, stunt him, hurt him, anything like that, if it goes to the fifth round, there's a good chance Manel Kape gets this fight. There's a good chance he gets his fight. I don't think he finishes Brandon Royval, but I think he can do enough to win this. However, if in the fourth round he's still moving, popping shots, things like that, but Brandon Royval is starting to come on, you know what I'm saying? He's really starting to get his offense off, and he's not dropped, he's not stunted, he's not moved back of any true significance from Manel Kape. I think Brandon Royval cruises to a 5-round decision win over Manel Kape. So my pick here for this fight, man, I'm going to go along with Brandon Royval. I'm going to go along with Brandon Royval to go out there and get a 5-round decision over Manel Kape. Now, if this fight ends early, I got to go along with Manel Kape, of course. I got to go along with Manel Kape. Well, I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because Brandon Royval, I mean, Joshua Van puts it on people, and Brandon Royval withstood all of that. Man, I don't think it's going to be I don't know if it's going to be a finish in this fight. I don't know. I'm getting confused right now. All I can say is I got Brandon Royval to go out there and win in a 5-round decision over Manel Kape. And then we'll see how it'll work out if Alexandre Pantoja, who just lost the championship due to injury, if he needs time to heal, get his body back right so he can compete, there is a good chance. I know Joshua Van hasn't taken any punishment, so maybe they'll throw him in there with Tetsuro Taira ahead of time. And if Pantoja is still not ready and Brandon Royval doesn't sustain any injuries in this fight, you could see a rematch against Joshua Van. That's definitely at play here. So be on the lookout for that. But there's also a world where Manel Kape goes out there, drops Brandon Royval a few times in the fourth round, and then pours it on slightly in the fifth, and he also goes to a 5-round decision. But my pick is Brandon Raw Dog Royval. Yeah, baby, he likes it raw. Yeah, baby, he likes it raw. As my pick to go out there and win with a 5-round decision. Let's move on. Co-main event. Giga Chikadze stepping in the octagon with Kevin Vallejos from Vallejo. He's not from Vallejo at all. But man, I got Kevin to go out there and get the win. This is not the same Giga Chikadze from, some years back. We haven't seen any recent Giga kick. You know what I'm saying? It's the Giga kick. Giga kick. You know what I'm saying? We ain't seen that finish nobody in a while. He's landed it, but it didn't fold opponents. You know what I'm saying? He's coming off of a loss to Calvin Kattar. You know what I'm saying? Calvin Kattar really poured on that volume and melted, Giga kick, kind of melted him. But even though, Kevin hasn't had, Vallejos hasn't had the strongest schedule, you know what I'm saying? He hasn't beaten the upper echelon opponents. Neither has Chikadze. He's fought a lot of them, but he ain't beat them. I got to go along with Kevin Vallejos. Vallejos. You know what I'm saying? I got to go along with him to get the win. By finish. I called that. Man, I'm not really... There's a lot of fights I'm interested in seeing on here just for the sake of a good scrap. But there's only a few I'm really going to discuss. How about Mikizel Costa stepping in the octagon with Morgan Charriere? Man, this one was a hard one to call because the thing about Costa is he's such an awkward fighter, right? He's so awkward because you go into the fight training for all of these weird, awkward angle submissions he can pull off. Crazy ninja chokes that he'll pull out of a scramble. He's cinching that darce up tight from all angles, standing, drop you to the ground, almost snapped your neck, and then go ahead and finish you off at that moment. But at the same time, his striking is so awkward. You never know he's going to come with an off-balance shot, off-balance punch, drop you. He has long jabs when he wants to. You know what I'm saying? When he wants to, his jab stretches across the octagon. You know what I'm saying? It's like some Fantastic Four type-ish. The way this homie, I've seen him lunge and catch people with these awkward jabs. But he also, and it's weird because he doesn't throw a ton of straight shots. A lot of them are looping and angled, but somehow he can make that into a long jab. Very weird. Nevertheless, man, I think Morgan Charriere can go out there and get it done. I think he can get it done. We've seen him finish. We've seen him stopped a lot of times. He's coming off of a win. It was a knockout. I don't know, man. Costa is tricky, but I think Charriere can get the win. I think he can get the win. I'm hoping that he might have leveled up slightly. I know it hasn't been too many months, but slightly more than his last fight, But I don't know. You could see a club and sub finish from Costa. You definitely could. But I'm going to go along with Charriere to go out there and get the win. I'm going to go along with Charriere to go out there and get the win. How about this tricky fight? King Green, formerly King Bobby Green, stepping in the octagon, short notice, catchweight fight, I think at like 160 pounds, against Lance Gibson Jr. Lance Gibson Jr. is not the best, all right? He's not the best, but he is powerful, right? He is powerful, and I kind of see him going in there and going balls to the wall. I can't imagine he's going to have a ton of cardio as he's taking this on short notice. So is King Green. But at the same time, man, King Green has not looked good in his last few fights, man. Actually, quite a few fights. He has not looked good. And while he might be able to start up strong, start the fight strong, this is not the same Bobby Green. And what we're seeing now is what Bobby Green could make up for his what flaws he had in the technical side of his striking earlier in his career or a few years ago, he could make up with fury, right? If that makes sense. He could make up with the fury that he would go at with his striking, and the pace he would set, and the aggression he would show, and the movement he would put, the movement he would use moving forward. You know what I'm saying? I think it was really psyching out a lot of opponents. And that that movement, that constant forward. He's talking, he's throwing jabs, he's following with random shots. You know, you never know when he's gonna throw like an off-center punch. You're waiting for a jab and wham, Bobby Green catches you with an actual just straight. You know what I'm saying? It's really random how he used to do it. But that fury, the way he would psych out his opponents, he also had really good eyes, right? Really good reflexes. He was really able to parry well and really able to just roll with a lot of shots. You know what I'm saying? But, man, he's a little bit older now. I don't think his reflexes are as good, or they're not as sharp. Man, watch out. Watch out, bro. I hate this because I'm a huge fan. I've always been a huge fan of King Green. I have picked this man so many times on this channel and he has come up short. But the times that he's come up, the times he's come out on top, what an amazing emotion it is. You know what I'm saying? Bro, Lance Gibson Jr. is not good, but he is powerful and he's not scared to throw hands. I think he finishes Bobby Green. I think he gets him out of there in the first round. That's tough, bro. But if he strikes with him on the feet, I think he gets him out the first round. I think Bobby Green is still in the mindset that his reflexes are as good as they were like 4 or 5 years ago. That's the key. Bobby Green could still be a successful fighter. You know, he's never going to fight for a title or be at the top of the division or anything like that. That's out the question, right? He'll never be ranked again, right? But at the same time, Bobby Green could still win a lot of fights if he adjusted his fighting style. But I think Bobby Green is going to continue to fight like he still has the reflexes of Bobby Green from like 6, 7 years ago, 5 years ago even. You know what I'm saying? Bro, I think he gets finished. It's going to be sad, but I got Lance Gibson Jr. to go out there and get the win. How about Amanda Lemos stepping in the octagon with Jillian Robertson? Man, watch out, bro. Jillian Robertson, I think, goes out there and wins this fight. I think she finishes Amanda Lemos. I mean, no doubt Amanda Lemos is going to have the advantage on the feet. There's no doubt in that, right? But, oh, man. I think Jillian Robertson's game, and with Coach Dean Thomas, I think Jillian Robertson can go out there and get this done, man. I think she can get it done, man. Because Amanda Lemos is weird. Like, she's very weird. Because earlier in her career in the UFC, when she saw her chance, she would go for the kill. Like, you know, nowhere close. These two fighters are nowhere close at all. So I'm not saying that she's like this fighter. But when I say she would go for the kill, it was similar to Charles Oliveira, Charlie Olives, right? Because when she saw an opening, Amanda Lemos would go for the kill. The strikes were quick, they were furious, and she would get a female up out of there, bro. She would get these ladies up out of there. And, I mean, she'll cinch up a standing submission up against the side of the octagon. You know what I'm saying? But I think she still sees those openings, but I think she gets a little bit apprehensive to go forward and just pull the trigger on those openings like how she used to. I think Jillian Robertson goes out there and gets the job done. I think she gets the job done. I think her only issue, because, I mean, Coach Dean Thomas is an outstanding coach, right? I mean, you haven't seen it realized as in him having a champion in his, among him. I mean, maybe he's had a champion out of his gym. I can't remember one off the top of my head. And now I could check the stats and be completely wrong and look stupid, but I don't think that he's had one, or at least not recently. But when you hear him on the broadcast and he's not trying to put on a show with Daniel Cormier, he knows what he's talking about, right? He has a pretty good he analyzes well from a coach's standpoint. You know, unlike a lot of the other commentators where when they're going to give you any sort of color commentary, it's still from a commentator's side of it, commentator's perspective. You know, even if they are a former fighter, but Coach Dean's is generally from a coach's standpoint. So I really wonder if in Jillian's career, if we've seen her like take losses because his game plan is terrible, or take losses because she couldn't implement it. That's I know there's a long roundabout way to get to that point, but that's what I'm thinking here. I think Jillian Roberts, I don't know why I keep wanting to call her Roberts. I think Jillian Robertson goes out there and gets the win over Amanda Lemos. I think she finishes her. I think she submits her. I know Amanda Lemos is, outlasted a lot better submission artists, aka Mackenzie Dern, but I think Jillian Robertson goes out there and gets the win. I think she submits her, man. I think she submits her. So that's that. How about Joe Anderson Brito stepping in the octagon with Isaac Thompson? Man, I think Joe Anderson goes out there and I was about to say submits him. I think finishes him, period. He could submit him, but I think he finishes him. I think he knocks him out. How about Neil Magny stepping in the octagon with Yaroslav Amosov, right? Former champion over in Bellator, lost to Jackson. I can't think of his first name off the top of my head, but man, it's going to be interesting to see where Amosov is right now, right? Coming off of a loss. It's going to be interesting to see how well he does. But with that being said, I don't think it says much by him taking a loss to, I can't remember his first name, but to Jackson. I'll put it on the screen. Because I think there's a good chance Jackson could also beat Neil Magny. I think both of those are interchangeable against Neil Magny. I'm going to go along with Amosov. Now, earlier in his career in Bellator, this dude was really good. Really good. I don't know how many of y'all really knew about the welterweight division in Bellator, but I did. And he was extremely good years ago. I'm not sure how good he's going to be now. Making his octagon debut. I don't know how good he's going to be now. I'll repeat that. But I think he can go out there and get the job done against Neil Magny. So I'm going to go along with Amosov to go out there and get the win. And that's about it, man. It's going to be a couple other good scraps, but man, these are the ones that I'm checking on. So, I don't know, man. I think this card has a good main event, but I wouldn't say this is a outstanding year-end card. Look, man, I'm trying to drum it up, but I'm going to be honest with you. This is not how you want to see the UFC in the year. I know you're trying to save up for Paramount. I know you're trying to save up for some shows in Paramount, first quarter, second quarter. But man, watch out, bro. This episode sponsored by Man Watch Out. Man, I just don't, I ain't got it, man. I got it for the main event and a few of these other scraps, but not a lot, man. Not a lot, dude. And, I don't know, man. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen the UFC end the year on a much better show. But, beggars can't be choosers. So that's what it is, bro. Nevertheless, man, please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you are excited for this show, or is this literally only the main event and that's about it? You let me know in the comments. And once again, I do want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.